I'm Steve Maud, founder and creative director of Cloud9 Media, based here in West London.
And I'm Katia. I've joined Cloud9 3 years ago, and I've lived in West London for 25 years.
What do? We make videos. We make video content, but we like to feel like it's very sort of led by the heart, as should you say. So it's they're films that kind of try and just put people at ease and capture their stories and their truth in whatever parts of the world they are, whatever industry they work in, and we try and capture that and make it into nice films that will share those stories with others.
And if I can add, we work for all sorts of organizations. We work a lot with non-for-profit, but not just that, but what we would call corporates as well. And we're here to sort of put the lights on the good work that they do, and amplify and hopefully inspire others. But I guess human beings have always communicated through stories. I think even cavemen, they were painting on the walls, and that's how, stories are the ways that, people exchange information and express their needs and feed on each other and hopefully learn how to get better.
Yeah, we learn from each other's mistakes. You say we'd sit around the fire and we'd be like, did you see last night you went around the bush there and there was a lion there, don't go there, it was terrible. And everyone's like, oh my God, we mustn't go behind the bush. So it is kind of helping us learn from experiences. It's how civilization has evolved, really, because we've kind of passed on our learnings to others so that they can improve. And that's kind of how we've got to where we are today. I think it's partly how we work with people from the first point. We really try and dig into what they actually want to tell and what they're trying to get across, because they don't know, and we bring our experience of storytelling to try and shape that into a narrative. So I think we're good at extracting the narrative from people and turning that into something that will relate to others.
And sometimes people feel that they have to sort of regurgitate the sort of corporate spiel, and I think we're quite good at sort of digging beyond this to get the little gems and sort of unveil what make them really human and interesting.
Because that's what people like. I think they like authenticity. We've moved on from the day of corporate video where it's a sort of top-down messaging and this is what you must understand. And it's more about, well, what do you feel? And we'll draw our own understanding from that. So we're very much around authentic storytelling. I know it's a word that's bandied around a lot, but and I also think for us we live by that in the company. We have a wonderful culture in the company, I would say. Like we're happy, we laugh a lot. Yeah, we get pissed off as well, we cry, but it's very much we start from ourselves almost. I mean, I always believe in therapy. It's about bringing yourself to the conversation as much as the other person to try and see where you can meet. So I'd say, we kind of we sort of live by what we would like to see in others as well. I think for me, it's really about seeing what can they bring to the table always. It's very easy to say, right, here's your job, do this. But I think we like to say, well, what do you want to do? Here we are, we just want to bring out the best in every individual and try and hone in on what their strengths are. Sometimes they don't know what those are, so we do try and work that out and listen and learn from experience. So we all kind of play to our strengths, I would say.
And I think it's about giving everyone the space to experiment, because as Steve said, you don't always know what you're good at, but if you're given the freedom to try, make a few mistakes, learn from them, get better, and they're like, oh, I quite enjoy doing that, and I think I've done a pretty good job, then this is how people can discover their passion and their strength.
Yeah. And just a last thing to add on to that, because we always had, I remember when you joined, and I had this ethos of leave your ego at the door. You know, this isn't about egos, this isn't about your individual thing, it is a collective experience. And within that, we can all shine as individuals, but it needs to be done in a respectful way for everyone in your environment. And I think, you know, we've had a few employees in the past, and sometimes it's all about their own egos, and it just doesn't work because it upsets the balance. We've got a very kind of finely balanced ecology within the company.
We have 7 humans and 1 dog.
Oh, Peach. Oh.
Peach is so she's a chief happiness officer.
Yep.
Always here for cuddles. We often we have our weekly team meeting on Monday, and it's a bit of a fight who's gonna have the right to hold Peach on their laps, and yeah, great source of entertainment and comfort.
Unconditional love. It's always useful. Well, it started off with me working in broadcast TV. I worked at the BBC for many years, and then later worked as a freelancer, and basically got tired of making films just for entertainment that had a kind of short shelf life, really. And you know, once you do the job, you move on to the next thing, and you give so much of yourself in a production, really. You know, we're artists. You know, we really give that, and I felt like I wasn't getting that reward back. I just felt empty, and you know, you spend the money by the end of the month, and you're like, really haven't got much to show for it. So I gave up on TV at one stage. I was like, sod this. I wanted to set up a website to help people in TV production learn how to make films better. I tried that for a while. That didn't really work, and got a call to work with Comic Relief. So I ended up going out to Africa and discovered that making films could be really rewarding, because you're telling stories of people that don't have a chance to tell their own stories. And I thought, this is a good purpose for me. This is something where my artistry and my love of mankind can actually be used to do some good for others. And also I kind of felt with certain organisations, you know, there's the kind of the white saviour thing that was going on, kind of ship out these celebrities to speak on behalf of all these people. And I was asked to stay on after. We did a big celebrity shoot, had a load of people, I shan't name names, and I was asked to stay on and capture just the local stories, really, of the people that we'd met and hear from them. And I loved that, and I just thought, well, this is a great chance. You know, we don't need a celebrity to come and tell someone's story. We just have to listen to the person themselves. And I thought, well, this is what I want to do. I want to create a company that will help corporations as well, because I mean, the charity sector is quite hard. You know, I wanted to make some money, and so I felt, well, I'd love to help organisations, corporations, whoever, tell those human stories better. So that's where the kind of corporate social responsibility angle came in, because I also believe that businesses are actually the people that can change the world. And if they can be led more from the heart and in a more compassionate way, less by greed and just a drive for profit, that actually that's the way we can make a difference to the world. So yeah, I set up Cloud9 Media with this idea of kind of helping corporations tell the important stories of their people, and you know, help make the world a better place. Kind of childish idea, but I think it's working. I don't know.
So my background is in broadcast, factual entertainment. I've worked for National Geographic and Discovery for many years and had a great time. Don't get me wrong, the golden years of television, trip here and there and all expenses paid and flashy parties and stuff. But towards the end of my stay there, this is where I had what I would call my environmental epiphany. And then I've tried to sort of use the leverage that I had to sort of change things internally. And then when I hit a wall, because I mean, you know, let's face it, it's the corporate world, and if the big chiefs, the senior management are not on board, you know, it's just not gonna be rewarding enough to keep me going. So I just took the opportunity of a redundancy and then went freelance. I was a freelance producer. I started work for the local council, Hammersmith Film Council, and then I think Steve found me on LinkedIn, and I think that coincided with a moment where you wanted a bit of fresh blood in the company, different influences. I think my background in sustainability was quite appealing, and also that's where at a time where Steve found it quite interesting that to complement this sort of global footprint with a really local anchor. So yeah, now we have the council as part of our portfolio. We've done great short films for them, yeah, it's been 3 years.
Yeah, and you're French. Because I think originally I was looking for a French-speaking producer
for a
to
film,
work for a film in Mali.
In Mali, yeah.
And you came on board, and then that I don't even know that the film happened in the end, but yeah, I sort of met you and worked with you, and I thought we've got to have Katia as part of the team.
I mean, I'd be surprised if anyone was going to say that they didn't go through tough times. I mean, personally, yes, I have, and I've always said to the team that I felt very, very privileged that I work in a workplace that is so supportive and welcoming and understanding and tolerant, that it's my sort of safe place, and I'm not saying that, you know, problems don't need to be, you know, sorted or resolved, but it's also very comforting when you know that you can spend a few hours in a place where you're going to have fun, you can talk about your problems if you want or not, and you can work on really exciting projects, and to have this sort of this respite for a few hours, and I mean that's been a blessing for me.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I won't lie, it's been really tough at times, especially since the pandemic. War going on, a lot of funding pulling out of marketing. Now we've got Trump doing silly things with global funding and stuff like that. So it's been hard, and for me as the kind of, you know, I've always been a bit of a dreamer, and I thought, oh yeah, we'll just have this lovely ambition and we'll just, you know, full of love, and we'll just make it all work. But there's a big responsibility, and you know, when the figures don't match and profit and loss are constantly at a battle, it's been a lot of pressure for me, and sometimes, and also, you know, as a company owner, it's a bit like being a parent. It's almost like you have a responsibility and accountability to your people, and it's not like something that you can just turn around and say, oh, I'm not going to do that anymore. I feel like sometimes I don't have a choice. I've carved this path and I have to walk it. So it's a lot of responsibility on my shoulders, and I take it very seriously. And definitely I have times when it's like Sunday evening, I'm like, oh, I can't do another week of this. It's like really hard, and I just think, sod it. But I get into the office and I literally end every day, I just think, I've had this great, you know, I just, the people I work with, and also the clients, you know, like I say, we're almost like therapists, and we're being open, people are trusting us, and they're sharing their business problems, but business problems are life problems, because we spend 2/3 of our lives at work. So, you know, this is their futures, this is their fight, this is their money, this is their families they're trying to take care of. So they open up and they share, and it opens our minds to so many different other worlds out there that we had no idea. And I honestly, right now, we work on such a strange range of clients, right from sort of STD prevention on one side, World Health Organization, to AI and fintech in other areas, and they're all important. You know, there's no one is more important than the other. They're all absolutely important and all deserve attention and listening, and we want to get their stories right. You know, they place responsibility in our hands, and we don't want to screw that up. So Yeah. In terms of, so actually, yeah, the mental health element, yeah, I kind of have to rein it in a bit sometimes and just think, like, I am only human and we can only sort of cope with what we can cope. And you're also learning maybe when to say no and yes, because it's very easy to say yes to everything and wanting to just help everyone because, you know, you kind of, we all want to help. I think that's just generally, humankind wants to help, but we do have to look after ourselves as well. And so it's important to, yeah, self-care as much as so that you can then care for others. We do a lot of international work, but especially when Katia joined, and we did have an office in Clerkenwell before. We moved around London in different parts, but we both decided to move back here to Shepherd's Bush, where we both lived for over 20 years. And look for local businesses because we much prefer to deal with the knowable, you know, especially in this kind of virtual world of Zooms and everything. And we just thought it would be much nicer to start. Literally, I remember we said, right, what's near us first? Who can we work for nearby? And it started with the council, and then also with Imperial up in White City and stuff like that. And then got us into Hammersmith and Fulham and working for them, and you'd had your experience. And that was through them how you
found the sort of the call to action, call to arm to join the campaign 30 for 30. I think it's a shame that people think that they only need to talk about it when that affects them, because I think mental health mental health, this is quite complex, multifaceted, unpredictable type of beast, and sometimes in hindsight you can sort of see it coming, but often I think it's you don't know what has triggered it. And so I think it's when you are in a fairly good place that you need to put your sort of safety net in place and get your sort of your mates, your relatives, your your neighbors, all of I mean this support system is really important. And then if that's been talked about when you are in a place where you feel sort of comfortable, then I think it's going to be much easier when you hit that low point to reach out to people because you feel secure and safe.
Yeah. Can I add on to that? I think, I don't know if it's a British thing or what, but we tend not to talk about our feelings. And I think the idea, and also we don't go to therapy unless we've got a problem, and we don't talk, to talk about your feelings is almost admission of your own failing and your weakness and the fact there's something wrong with you. Whereas I just think we need to be talking about it like in an open way and feel that we can talk about it, because it's that shame of where we stop talking about it, that's where the real problems kick in. So I think to be able to open your heart and talk at a deeper level with people is very important. We're very caught up in the surface and making our judgments and just only seeing skin deep. And from our experiences of even filming, you realise that as soon as you look beneath the surface, there's a whole world of commonality and shared values and shared suffering, and just to feel like you can be sharing that. As someone once told me, a problem shared is a problem halved. And that idea that you're not alone. And I think especially in this urban living, West London, social media, it's very isolating. We can end up feeling very isolated. It's not even like in the Mediterranean where you have a more family, outdoorsy culture. We're very indoors in England, in Britain. It's this everyone in their castles, and you get lonely in your castle. So I think the idea of us sharing these conversations is what's going to help us all deal with each other more compassionately in the world. I'm lucky that I've always sort of had music in my blood. My mother's from Chile and was always playing music as a child and passed that on to me. My father as well was a cellist, and even my grandmother and everything. So I've always kind of had music as my go-to. I always kind of felt actually I was first a musician and then a filmmaker second. Recently, over the last couple of years, I've been playing in Shepherd's Bush a lot more because I like to keep things local very much. And so I used to have these parties in my living room on my birthday, and most of my friends were musicians, and we'd all just basically sit around and all just start playing and, you know, yeah, improvise. But it's just this idea of the freedom and the acceptance, and music can be quite elitist, and people can get quite scared away and think, oh, I'm not good enough. And I just very much believe like everyone's got it in them. You just have to kind of support and create that environment. So yeah, I had the Living Room Collective, which was something I put together. We were playing at the Hawk's Nest all through last summer. We managed to do 20 gigs every Sunday, and a bit like the Beatles, that gave us a chance to refine our art. And it's the whole idea of a collective really is that everyone is kind of welcome to join, to listen, to be part of it. I very much believe actually the listeners, the audience, are as much a part of the music creation process as the musicians, because you are playing to someone. It's like a conversation, and so it's very inclusive idea. And we got an email from a certain person sharing it, and you mentioned the Poetry Slam, and it was at Next Door Records where I've played before, and it's my local place, which I love, and I love what they've done with it. And I just saw it as a perfect opportunity really to combine the sort of supportive background element of the music that I can provide with poetry. And especially around this idea of refugee and the sort of crisis that we're going on in that sense. So it just felt like the perfect sort of thing. And I sent you an email saying, hey Nick, listen, I've got this band going, you know, any chance that we can join in? And you checked it out with Kareem and he gave the thumbs up. And I just think we were all surprised by the sort of this amazing alchemy that came out of it. You know, we weren't expecting that. I think after our first session, you were there at the first one as well.
There is the second session.
The second session. There was just something nice. I just love that light in people's eyes, where the music has suddenly helped them be more than they ever expected they could be. And I find that combination with the poetry was just really powerful for everyone in the room. I mean, it was just, and you know, Yasmin would sort of say, oh, the look on Steve's face, that smile on his face, because I love seeing that, just being in the middle of that feeling of everyone enjoying this sort of freedom, this lack of constraint, and just something that's just bigger than we could ever have imagined. You know? I would just say, listen to that voice, that little voice that you hear inside you, that gut instinct on anything, and take it really seriously, you know, because it's very easy, you know, adults tend to tell, you know, like my father would be like, oh no, you don't want to do that, and they think they know better. But you have to listen to that, because that's probably what you'll end up doing. So the quicker you take that seriously, the quicker you can get to that. You know, it took me many years to find a job and an environment that was right for me, because we're all different. And just because the world is set up in a certain way that you might not fit into, doesn't mean that you're not the right shape. And so it's really about finding your form and your shape and what you love. I mean, people talk about purpose, and it's like, oh, I don't know what my purpose is, but we all know what's important inside us. And I just think we have to take, and only us can take that seriously. We can't, so people will recognize that sometimes and they'll help you along the way, but you just have to really listen to that kind of childish interest in yourself, whatever made you excited and fun, just take that seriously, and then you'll find your path to happiness a lot faster.
Well, I guess for me, it's not so much what I would tell my younger self, but what I would perhaps encourage other parents like me to do is to really trust your children, and I think as parents, the best we can do for our kids is to expose them to as many new experiences and a diversity of people, to sort of encourage those meaningful interactions and nurture their curiosity, and then just be very observant of how they react and this little sort of tick in their eye, the sparkle in their eyes, because then this is what you want to encourage, this sort of interest, and this is how you can help them grow into a interesting, confident human being. So yeah, that would be my piece of advice. And I think you talked about resilience, and we don't want to be a downer, but I think there's no secret that we live in a really stressful times with the rise of oppressive, totalitarian, fascist regimes who are really playing on our mental health vulnerability. So now is really a time to strengthen our mental health muscles, and you get that by really strengthen the bonds within the community and rely on each other, when you're high, when you're low, because stronger together. This is how we're going to ride that wave. I'm absolutely convinced that that's the only way forward.
Don't trust your leaders. Don't trust that, just because we defer too much to leadership. It's like, no, we're our own leaders, and it doesn't have to be a selfish act.